Hey everyone, it's me, Chris from Body Nova Fitness Coaching. And I'm here today, we're gonna talk about back pain, okay? For most people who haven't seriously injured their back, or some of them that have actually, it all comes from a similar problem or a common problem there. You know, part of it involves us sitting too much, so certain muscles get tighter, making it easier for us to sit for long periods of time. And then the other part is, as we work out, is we tend to work the wrong muscles, or we put emphasis on the wrong muscles. So everything that we can see in front of us, and that helps contribute to the problem, because the stuff that we can't see in back of us, we tend to neglect. Okay, most of our back pain is going to come from having tight hip flexors. Or hip flexors, the muscle group is not one muscle. It's the psoas muscles along with the rectus femoris of the quads, because that muscle runs all the way up to the top of the pelvis, okay? So if we sit a lot, if we do a lot of exercises that usually work the quads, the front of the thigh, or we do our ab work wrong. Like sometimes we do sit-ups and things like that, and the way that we do them puts emphasis on working the hip flexors. So with that, that makes these muscles get more work, and because we don't work the muscles of the back, you know, they get tighter because our bodies adapt to make it easier for us to do this. So I'll show you what I mean, okay? So this is normal. As we're here, this is kind of normal. You can kind of look, I want you to really pay attention to back into here. So as we sit, as we work these wrong muscles and things like that, what happens is these get tighter and they get pulled down toward the knees. So, okay? So as you see, this punt sticks out here, but then at the same time, this flexes and goes with it. So as that flexes and goes with it, there goes our back problems, because this pelvis tilts forward and the spine goes with it. So those muscles are always going to be active, you know, and that's going to contribute to our problems over time, okay? Some of the other problems that go along with this is if we sit on a wallet, if we sit down and we sit on a wallet or something like that, one side will shift to the other, one side will shift up, and the other side will shift down, which that side will get tighter to make it easier for you to do that. You know, so that's going to be a different solution. That's going to be stuff you're going to have to work on muscles side to side. So as we're working on a solution for this, having these muscles in the front tight and tilting down, and these muscles in the back, they get lengthened. As you can see, like look at my glute. As I tilt this up, that's a little bit shorter, and it doesn't go as high on my hip. That's also Instagram posing. How they make the butt look bigger. Anyway, around her. But anyway, as we get this position here, we're going to need to work the muscles more in the back to help correct and pull the back of the pelvis down, okay? But we'll need to stretch or lengthen these muscles along the front. The psoas is kind of deep. These muscles along the front, so it'll give us more room to have these muscles pull into correction. That's where a lot of the glute bridges and hip thrusts come in, along with the various types of the deadlifts. That's why those become important, not just squatting, because squatting in most cases will put more emphasis on the muscles of the front of the legs. Leg presses, leg extensions will put more emphasis on the front of the legs. The leg curls, they do work the hamstrings, okay, but they don't really help because their action is at the knee. You need the exercises with actions at the hip, okay? So you'll want to choose exercises that's gonna hit the glutes, the hamstrings, and low back. That's known as the posterior chain, okay? And so like I said, those will basically pull the top of the pelvis, the top rear of the pelvis down and into correction, so that you're not creating that situation where you have the impingement, or not impingement, but basically the spine shifting and creating pressure on the low back. So now with the other deals, we're talking about the hips and side to side, and you want to stretch that. You want to stretch those, and I have some stretches in with that, okay? This is the hip flexor stretch, and with the hip flexor stretch, one of the things that it does, of course, it's going to lengthen the psoas, and it's going to get a little bit of lengthening of the rectus femoris, okay, which is one of your quadricep muscles. Now, what I've been doing lately is I'll wait about 10 or 15 seconds into that stretch, and I'll grab the leg sort of like that, and it will help the rectus femoris lengthen at the end where it attaches into the knee joint, and also where it attaches up onto the pelvis. Okay, so that'll help create a deeper stretch. Now, each of these stretches that I'm going to show you, I'm going to hold them for about 30 seconds, except for this one I'm going to hold a little bit longer because I'm going to give 15 seconds of just the noise. Now, this is also part of why I'm so picky about my ab work, because if you don't hit the ab work right, or if you try to do ab exercises that are too advanced for you, things get passed off to other muscles. So in other videos I've talked about there's a difference between hip flexion and spinal flexion, which spinal flexion can happen in two ways. The pelvis can move toward the rib cage like it does in a reverse crunch, or sort of in a leg lift if you're doing them right, okay? Or it could be where the rib cage moves toward the pelvis, like in the cable crunch and things like that, okay? Other exercises that help tilt the pelvis into the right direction, or tilt the pelvis the front backward, okay, will be all types of oblique work. So you can get different types of side crunches and different types of rotational twisting exercises. So those will be good for helping rotate, getting the pelvis into the right position to help the back. Plank is a little bit different because you're just holding that isometric position, but you want to hold the position right to where, again, it will, see how like I kind of get that position into there, and it's going to put more emphasis on your abs, but you're going to have to work harder. So like some people will hold, okay, I can hold 2 minutes or whatever. That more than likely isn't going to happen once you just rotate that pelvis and make those abs work a little bit harder, and have those hips drop to where you're a little bit more level, because that's going to put more tension on your abs. One of these stretches that I'm doing, it's a figure 4 stretch. You could do it lying on the floor, You could do that lying flat on the floor, or you could also use the bench. And I like to use the bench as of late because I can control how deep I get into the stretch. Just make sure you get that leg figure forward and above the knee, and as you sit back and lean forward in one version, and the other version, you'll grab the leg and you pull it towards you. You'll feel that stretch in the hips. Okay, so with some people, they have that sciatic nerve pain, and I'm not trying to say this is going to be a cure for it, but it's going to help your cause a great deal, if you can get even out in the hips here, because sometimes certain muscles will be tighter. Again, like I said, if you're somebody that sit on a wallet or sit on an uneven couch, certain muscles of the hips will get tighter. Your cause a great deal, if you can get even out in the hips here, because sometimes certain muscles will be tighter. Again, like I said, if you're somebody that sit on a wallet or sit on an uneven couch, certain muscles of the hips will get tighter, and one side will get tighter than the other to adjust for that. So you want to make sure that you're getting even between, on the sides here. So getting that stretch will help you out, because usually the impingement, that hip is shifted to one side, and then the spine impinges the nerve in one way or another, and then that's kind of the cause of that, and you'll feel the pain shooting down your leg. Okay, one of the ways I kind of work around my lower back issues, because I got a lifetime of heavy lifting and being somewhat reckless, so sometimes I sit too much. Okay, I will always go and stretch my hip flexors and the muscles, along the side of my hips and things like that before I hit a leg day, okay? Because if I do that and I do the abs, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get tiny little shifts that's gonna allow me to, allow everything to be in the right position so I can get a higher quality workout without my lower back taking a beating. So I will start off with, hip flexor stretches and stretches for the hips, and then I'll either do some ab work, like a reverse crunch or a cable crunch, and something like a hip thrust or a glute bridge, which will help me shift my posture into the right position. And I seem to have less of a problem after I work out. And then I'll try to stretch again. Now, some people are going to say, oh, well, the research shows that if you stretch, yes, it does show that if you stretch beforehand, you'll be weaker. I am not stretching the agonist, which the working muscles. I'm stretching the antagonist. Okay, so the research that people are going to try to say that I'm not working with, it doesn't actually apply, because I'm stretching hip flexors, I'm working hamstrings,